So what do people actually physically do to overcome what I call and identify as inertia? What's causing the inertia? It's fear of rejection. It's internalized shame. It's anxiety. It's negative speak. Tim Grover talks about the dark side. It's your own brain telling you you suck. It's not going to work. You're not going to make it. Why did you even try this thing in the first place? So if you're going to get up in the morning and deal with that voice every day, and I even went to Tim, I said, what can you do to get rid of that guy? I said, Mike, I got bad news for you. There's not a damn thing we can do to get rid of that guy. That guy's going to be there every single day. Mike, what you got to do is jump out of bed, shake that guy's hand and say, get in the bus. And if we can get you to shut up for a while, we're going to go make some money. And that's where you got to deal with your dark side. And then you've got to get into the positive. What's really worked for me, I call these no matter what happens. I've had a couple things in my life, no matter what happens. The things that have happened in my life that I'm the most proud of came from learning that if I did one simple thing every single day without fail, if I created a no matter what happens. And when I say no matter what, I mean no matter, even if your ass falls off, pick it up and go do this one thing. One of the things I'm, probably, I wouldn't say proud, but gratified about is that I have over 30 years of sobriety and 12-step programs. And so I haven't had to spend my life battling alcohol, drugs, substances and behaviors that, would just normally wipe people out. And I've done that by utilizing no matter what habits. And so when I first went into those meetings as a pretty young guy and had been in lots of trouble and, was wrecking my life. And I said, how do I overcome this? They said, it's super, super simple. All you have to do is make a sacred commitment to this one thing and you will be successful. The chapter in the book that talks about this says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And then they say, well, what's the thoroughly followed our path? I say, real simple. You got to do this one thing every single day. Go to a meeting every single day, right? That's how those 12-step things work. You go to a meeting and it's not like once in a while. It's not like, till you feel like you have your shit together. You go to a meeting every single day. Oh yeah, and one more detail about that. We don't drink in between meetings. And the next thing you know, if you're doing that, going to a meeting every day and you're not drinking in between meetings, next day you're picking up a 30-day chip. And if you stay at it, you're picking up a 6-month chip. And next thing you know, you're getting the metal chip, a 1-year chip. That's a big deal for an alcoholic not to drink for a year. And how did you do it? It's going to sound stupid, but you didn't drink one day at a time because you were going to a meeting every day. And then you just didn't drink between then and the next day's meeting. And that's super, super simple. And for most people like me who consider themselves pretty clever, it's too simple. And we're like, oh, come on, you're not going to fool me with some simple, weird little thing. But when I found myself with the understanding of how to be this successful in solar, but not doing it, then I had to say to myself, why am I doing what I've done at other times in my life? I have this incredible opportunity. I have this incredible ability. I know how to do this. Why am I not doing what I need to do so that I'm in several of these calls every single day? And I found out I needed to make a very, very simple commitment to doing just a couple of things every single day, no matter what. And that's what I started doing. That happened for me in 2017. And what I was able to do was to get myself to knock on one door and get one person to say no every single time I went to a neighborhood. Every time I was there for an appointment, every time that I was there for paperwork. It didn't matter why. In my job, I'm in neighborhoods all day long. It doesn't matter why I'm in a neighborhood. If I'm in a neighborhood coming out of an appointment, I'm going to knock on one door and get one no. And the one who really taught me how to codify that was Stephen Guise. Stephen Guise wrote a book called Mini Habits. And I was actually listening to the CEO of Traeger Grills talk to us from D2D-Con. And he was talking about being able to get his life in order by using mini habits, like that guy who wrote the book about mini habits where he says to do one push-up a day. Like, is doing one push-up a day going to get you in better shape? No. However, Going from no push-ups to one push-up is the hard part. If you can get yourself to show up and do one, you can't get to two without getting to one, but it's easy to not get to one ever. And so that's really the key. And so I taught myself and made a commitment to myself that every single day that I would get to one door and get one no. Now that sounds silly. It sounds just as silly as getting one push-up. How successful would you be as a salesman that knocked on one door a day? That's not the key. The key is overcoming the inertia, having a commitment, having that commitment be simple, honoring it so that you do it every single day. And once you're in momentum, then you decide, am I going to do one push-up? Or while I'm down on the ground and my nose is in the dusty carpet, am I going to go ahead and knock out 10 or 20 push-ups? And now that I've done 10 or 20 push-ups, why don't I do the stretching I know I'm supposed to do? And why don't I, hop on the bike or do whatever I'm supposed to do? Once you're in motion, you have a completely different brain chemistry. You have a completely different, outlook, because now you're in motion. And now you're saying, why wouldn't I do one more? When you get yourself to knock on one door and you just had to swim through quicksand to get to that door, and you knock on it and person comes to the door and you could barely utter anything more than, you don't want a solar quote, do ya? And then you're walking down the driveway and the family next door is pulling up in the SUV and pulling groceries out. And you're standing right there with a business card in your hand. What are you going to do? Not give it to them? And so you reach out and you say, hi, I'm Mike O'Donnell. I'm with Sun Solar. Obviously, I was just here talking to your neighbor about their solar design, and just want to give you a card. What are you guys doing with solar? Have you looked into it yet? What are your thoughts about it? Are you open-minded about solar, or have you guys decided, you're going to just stick with the utility and kind of take what they're giving you over the next 10, 20 years? But if you weren't standing there having forced yourself into that first one, you certainly wouldn't be then standing in front of a family that had their groceries coming out with an SUV. So that's that difference between 0 and 1 is all the distance in the world. It's the greatest distance there is. And once you cover it, the distance from 1 to 2 and 2 to 5 and 10 to 20 is nothing compared to that distance from 1 to 2.